Welcome to Redeeming Rock of Christ Church and J.J.H.Ministries Bible Studies. Today we will start a 3-week lesson in low self-worth. Our first lesson is made in God's image. This week I will go over, since it is our first week, how the lessons will be structured and go over our first lesson. There is a change on the website of the Bible study, so if you have downloaded the first Bible study, please visit the website and re-download the new Low Self-Worth Bible study. Pause the video now. I will give you time and download the new Bible study, Low Self-Worth. Now that you've downloaded the Bible study, let's get into how the Bible study will be structured. This Bible study is a 3-week lesson. It will take place in a course of 6 weeks. The first week of a lesson, we will go over the lesson, go over the questions and the readings, and possibly discuss any questions that may sound like they may come up. The second week, we will go over the same lesson, the first lesson, the second lesson, whatever it is, but we will go over the answers. Within that course of the week, between the start of the lesson and the finishing of the lesson, you can email me, and I will have my email linked here, or you can email the church or the ministry, or you can visit the site and leave any questions you have on the site. So again, this first lesson is low self-worth, made in God's image. This week we will go over the lesson. We will take the readings that are there out of the Bible and go over the questions. Then next week we will meet back here and go over the answers. Again, we'll do the readings and go over the answers to the questions, and I will comment on any questions you have emailed me or any answers you have emailed me. So, why don't we get started with low self-worth? So welcome to our Wednesday Bible study on low self-worth. Lesson 1, made in God's image. Before we begin, let's look at a couple things here. What additional praises or significant happenings happened this past week in your lives? Anything good happen? Anybody give you words of encouragement or praises? Email me now with this question. What's something that has been invented you think is amazing? You can email me at pastorjoshj@minister.com, Redeeming Rock of Christ @religious.com, or J.J.H.Ministries @religious.com. And I will get back to you here at Bible study next week with the conclusion of Lesson 1, Made in God's Image. Let's read here Genesis 1, 2, and 3. I will be reading out of the English Standard Version. The creation of the world. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. The first few questions reflect on Genesis chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3. What is your first impression of God after reading his story of creation. We haven't gotten too deep now in the Bible of creation. Man, the beasts, the ocean, animals. Just the creation of the world, of this earth. What patterns of words and or phrases are repeated? I noticed a couple words that were repeated. I haven't delved too deeply to find phrases, but words, and there are a few phrases in there that have been repeated. In Genesis, we find the word face or world mentioned a couple times. What do these patterns tell you about creation? When you hear about the world or the earth more than once, what do you think? Do you think it's of significance or that it has little of importance? What is the aspect of the created world? What aspect of the created world is most inspiring to you, and why? Is it the fact that God created this massive thing and we're in it? Why? Now we're going to look into a couple other verses in the Bible and see the comparison of Genesis and the creation and Jesus and his coming and the significance of being made in God's image. We're going to read John chapter 1 verses 1 through 3 and Colossians chapter 1 verses 15 through 20. Let's read John chapter 1 first. John chapter 1 starts out very much like Genesis. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was not made. In Genesis, we read that everything was made by God, and in John, it reflects back on that. Colossians chapter 1, verses 15 through 20. The preeminence of Christ. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions, or rulers or authorities. All things were created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in everything he might be preeminent. For in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. For in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. And through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether on earth or in heaven, making peace by the blood of his cross. So we see that everything is created by God. There is nothing here that's not from God. The device that you're watching me on came from God, inspired by God. You were inspired by God. So as insignificant as we may seem in this world, God loved you so much, He created you. What does it mean to you that man and woman are created in the image of God? What I was just talking about. You were created by God. He loved you so much that He created you. How does knowing this affect how God desires you? How does knowing this affect how God desires for you to feel about yourself? For me, it makes me feel pretty good that I was created by a higher being, that somebody bigger than me, more powerful than me, wants me here. Our last question, we'll look into Psalms. We'll go to Psalm 139, verses 13 through 18. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God! How vast is the sum of them! If I would count them, they are more than the sand. I awake, and I am still with you. That sums up what I was talking about. How we were all formed by God, and that somebody more powerful than us loves us. Next week we'll talk about in what ways has God used this study to adjust your thinking about yourself. Coming into this, how low were you feeling? How insignificant did you seem? But upon reading these verses, has it changed your thoughts that somebody more powerful has loved you? A prayer, not so much verbally, but actions. Ministry to one another through prayer. Pray for somebody else other than yourself. See how that changes your thoughts about yourself. Find somebody out there that needs something more than you need something. And we'll meet back here next week and discuss these answers to these questions. Again, please email me your answers at pastorjoshj@minister.com, Redeeming Rock of Christ Church at religious.com, and J.J.H.Ministries at religious.com. Feel free to visit the redeemingrockofchristchurch.org and jjhministries.com and download your copy of this Bible study. And we'll meet back here to finish up this lesson. God bless.